At some point in many listings today, you're going to need a price reduction. Days on market are running long, and a meaningful share of listings take at least one cut. The agents handling this well aren't better at the price reduction conversation. Instead, they made that very unpleasant conversation unnecessary by setting everything up correctly before the listing went live. This video is about the conversation to have and the specific language to negotiate into your listing process that turns a reduction into a planned event, not a crisis. But first, I'm Karrie Hill, lawyer turned realtor and co-founder of Smart Agent Alliance, an eXp Realty sponsor team. We help agents work more effectively and efficiently by bringing together the resources from Smart Agent Alliance, the Wolfpack, and eXp Realty into one organized portal. Our agents get access to a personalized link page, marketing templates, and an agent attraction funnel, elite training, and the systems they need to build both production and revenue share. And because we're part of the Wolfpack, our agents also have access to weekly masterminds, modern training, and one of the strongest support communities at eXp, all for no cost to our agents. Why the standard agreement doesn't help. Standard listing forms cover the basics: price, commissions, term, and the agent's obligations. What they usually don't address is what happens if the market tells us the price is too high. That silence matters. If there is no pricing review plan in place, the price reduction conversation usually happens only after the home is sitting, showings have slowed, feedback is weak, or no offers have come in. By then, the seller is already under pressure. They may feel disappointed, defensive, or frustrated that the listing is not going the way they hoped. That is not the moment when most sellers are most open to hearing, "We need to reduce the price." And this is especially important in the market we're in right now. Buyers are price sensitive. Mortgage rates are still keeping affordability tight, and the sellers who missed the market at launch don't have the same margin for error they had just a few years ago. That's why the price reduction conversation can't be treated like a backup plan or an emergency conversation. It needs to be part of the listing strategy from the beginning. You're not predicting that the seller will need a reduction. Instead, you're agreeing in advance how you will evaluate the market response if the home doesn't perform the way everyone hopes. Why stale listings lose leverage. Before you ask a seller to agree to any pricing language, you have to explain why it matters. The issue isn't just whether the home eventually sells. Most homes will sell at some price. The issue is what happens to the seller's leverage while the home sits. A fresh listing has energy. Buyers notice it. Agents notice it. People want to see it before someone else gets it. But if the home sits without enough showings, without strong feedback, and without offers, that energy starts to fade. Then the conversation changes. Instead of buyers asking, "How fast do we need to make a move?" they start asking, "Why hasn't this sold?" And once buyers start asking that question, they usually don't get more aggressive about jumping in with a strong price. Instead, they get more cautious. That's why price reduction timing matters. A well-timed price adjustment can create a second marketing moment. And it can put the home back in front of buyers who filtered it out before, give agents a reason to mention it again, and make the listing feel relevant instead of stale. But that only works if you respond while the listing still has momentum. If you wait too long, the reduction can feel less like a strategy and more like a concession. So after explaining all of this reality to the seller, you say, "We're not building a plan because we expect the home to fail. We are building a plan so that if the market gives us clear feedback, we can respond while the seller still has leverage." Not weeks later, after the seller is frustrated and buyers have already moved on. Quick thing before we go further, if you find any of this useful, please subscribe. We publish this kind of breakdown every week, and it's the easiest way to make sure the next one finds you. And keep us doing these. The 3 clauses to negotiate. So what does that look like in practice? There are 3 primary ways to build this into the listing process: a review trigger clause, a reduction authorization, and if your forms are limited, a lighter written agreement. The first one is the easiest to get, and in many cases, it's enough. And of course, before I get into these ideas, listing agreement forms and what you can modify vary by state and broker. These are concepts, so have your broker confirm what you can do and the right language for your market. Okay, on to the ideas. 1. The review trigger clause. This is a specific condition that triggers a pricing review. It's not an automatic price cut, it's a planned meeting. The basic idea is to add to your listing agreement something like this. And remember, this is not legal advice. This is just an idea that you can bring to your broker. If we have fewer than X showings in the first 7, 14, 21 days or whatever, or no written offer within 7, 14, 21 days, whatever, we will conduct a pricing review meeting within 48 hours. Present this as a checkpoint. The seller is not committing to reduce the price. The seller is committing to look at the data with you and make a clear decision. You also want to adjust the numbers to your market and the season. For example, the showing target may be pretty different at the beginning of your strongest spring market than it would be at the end of your busy season. 2. The reduction authorization. This is the more ambitious clause. It gives you pre-authorized permission to make a defined price adjustment under defined conditions, usually with written notice and a short no objection window. This is much harder to negotiate. You have to make sure it's legal, so frame it as speed and responsiveness. The point is not to take control away from the seller. The point is to protect the listing's momentum. If the market is giving you clear feedback and the seller is traveling, busy, or hard to reach, you don't want to lose another week trying to restart the same conversation from scratch. Okay, not every seller will agree to this, and it might not even be legal, and that's okay. If they do agree to that review trigger clause that we already started with, you're going to have a very strong foundation. 3. The lighter written agreement. If you can't modify the listing form, you still want to document the understanding in some kind of a dated email or a broker-approved addendum or some other written confirmation. This is basically the same concept as the review trigger clause, but you're creating something you can refer back to when the issue comes up later. Here's an example, and again, this is not legal advice, talk to your broker first. Seller agreed on such and such date that if the property has fewer than X showings in the first X days, no written offer within X days, a pricing review will occur by such and such date, and the seller is willing to consider a price adjustment if the market data supports it. That's not as strong as having clear language in the listing agreement itself, but it's far better than trying to introduce the entire pricing review process after the listing has already gone stale and the seller is already frustrated. What these clauses do to the relationship. These clauses do more than protect your sale. They protect the relationship. When a seller agrees to a pricing review process before the home goes live, the later conversation feels completely different. It doesn't feel like the agent is coming back after 3 weeks to say, I was wrong. It feels like both of you are following the strategy you already agreed to. That matters because price reductions are emotional. Sellers can hear a reduction as criticism of their home, their expectations, or their decision to hire you. But when the review process was built in from the beginning, the conversation becomes less personal and more objective. You're not trying to persuade the seller in a stressful moment. You're returning to the plan, reviewing the data, and making the next decision together. This is the real value of this language. It turns the price reduction conversation from a surprise into a scheduled checkpoint, from a reaction into a strategy, and from a potential conflict into part of the professional process. If you're interested in seeing the full EXP structure, check out our 18-minute inside look. It's the fastest, clearest breakdown of EXP and our Smart Agent Alliance that you'll find anywhere. The link is in the description. And if you want to strategize about what your business would look like at EXP, we're happy to talk. Contact information is also in the description. If you want to know how to talk to a client who still wants to price their home like it's the 2022 peak, check out the video on screen. If you want to know how to protect your commission from a seller that decides to rent, check out the other video. Thank you for watching and have a great day.